All right, well, welcome to another episode here of the Date Your Wife podcast. I'm your host, Garrett J, founder of Wake Up Warrior, and I'm here with a woman who also got her sign put up in the garage.
I never know where you're going to go with this show.
This is why you married me.
That's
tell
true.
them what you told them when they asked you why did you marry me when you were being interviewed for the New York Post. What did you tell them?
For the New York Post?
Yes, you were being interviewed and you told them this.
I did?
You told them this. And they put this in the article.
No, they didn't.
They said, why did you marry your
When?
husband?
How long
And you
ago?
said
How
he
long
was
ago?
like, this was like 2017 or 16.
I don't know if I liked you at that
This was
point.
2017. You did like me in 17. You just really like me now.
Oh.
But you liked me then, but you really like me now. But you said something, and she was a nice thing. You don't remember what you said?
I don't.
You have to remember what you said.
Did I say he was like the train wreck? I couldn't stop watching.
Thank you very much. So continue. So she pauses.
No.
And then you say.
This is a funny story. So Garrett, I met Garrett when I was 18. It was literally, I moved away to college with a bunch of girlfriends. It was the first church fireside function, but I was raised Mormon. We were raised in Utah. So like church functions are like in the thousands of people. Like
Probably 10,000 kids.
Like, remember that?
10,000 college
Yeah, like
kids.
that was nuts. So, but nobody goes to go to church. It's the first fireside of the year.
There's a handful that do go to
no,
church.
No.
Most are there just
You
looking for
literally
a
go
hookup.
just to check a hookup. I was looking for a long-term relationship.
Yeah, we
apparently.
were looking for a long-term relationship. That's how it
But
happened.
everybody's just looking for, people, they're just looking for a hookup. So I go, me and my friends go, we're looking all cute. We're walking out to the car, a bunch of cute little 18-year-olds, and Garrett and his buddies are walking out. Well, first off, I see this guy in front of us, and he's got this bleached out, spiky hair, and he's like just loud. And I'm like, he's like kind of the guy that I can't see his face. I just see this bleachy, spiky hair out in the audience, and I'm like, who is this obnoxious guy? But I can't I can't see your face or anything. I just see like hair talking, like like a hedgehog, but with blonde hair. No. What's the chef? The guy,
who's the hedgehog?
Who's that guy? And he still has the same.
The road chef.
The guy, the road chef, and he's like,
I
he
don't
still
know.
has the same
I know who you're talking
hair.
about in my mind.
Yeah,
I don't
he
know
still
who
has
he
the
is.
same bleached out spiky hair. So I'm like, man, why is he here? Anyway, so I don't think anything of it, but I'm like, that guy is so loud. And then as we're walking out to the car, he's like, what did you say? It was like the silliest.
I go, hey.
It was like the
hey.
lamest. It was for sure
I look
the
over.
lamest
I look
pickup
over.
line.
There's like 8 girls. Hey. You're like,
it's not too often
that
yeah.
you see a group of good-looking
Hot girls,
ladies, like hot
something
girls, all
and
together
I
at the same time.
I immediately am like, guys, get in the car fast. And I don't know.
That was why you were forgettable in that moment.
Well, then I was fine
We
with
didn't
that.
even know you were there.
I was like, hurry, get in, go, shy away from these guys. So then my girlfriend's like, no, they look fun, ha ha ha. And I'm like, get in the car. So
and of course, they stayed out to talk to me because I was a beast.
I sat in the car by myself.
You did. You hid from me. So I'm sitting there talking to your friend Shelly and your friend Courtney, and then they give me the directions to your apartment. They say, well, we live right
Why
here. I
would
said,
they
that's
do
crazy. You
that?
guys live in the same. Why? Because they like the spiky hair. They were dancers. They were
Anyway,
excited.
long story short, my friends were dancers. I worked at Great Harvest Bread Company. So
She did.
I did.
She got a
great.
job there
I
because
got
of her
free
parents.
pumpkin bread. My parents got me that job. They were like, you have nothing going on.
Yeah,
Please,
you had a lot
please
going
work.
on for you.
So
Big future.
I was
Think
taking.
you were great
I
at
was
pottery.
taking pottery,
You were awesome
ceramics,
at math.
aerobics, and reading. Those were my classes.
And you failed all of them. Congratulations.
And that's why I ended
Good
up.
job, first year of college.
It panned out well later in life. So let's not go there right now. So then, I remember I was like home alone because I was always home alone. They were always traveling and doing school and stuff, and I was taking ceramics and eating pumpkin bread.
And then you heard the knock that changed
So
your
then
life forever.
You and your cousin, because you lived with your cousin at the time, knock on the door, and then I was like, "Hey!" And I invited you guys in, and we were talking and hanging out. And I could tell you guys were like both trying to flirt with me.
My cousin had already
And I
called
was
dibs
like,
on you.
I was like, "There's two." Of
I
them,
hadn't
and
known
they're-
you were there. You were too
they're-
short.
Well, I know. I'm sure
You were hidden in the crowd of dancers.
It's good to know I stand out alone.
Well, you were because you were hiding in the car. It's hard to stand out if you're hiding in the vehicle from your future king. You were intimidated. There was a piece of your soul that knew,
I kind of thought
this is my guy. My life is as a single woman
No,
is
I think
coming
I
to a
was like-
close. I had a great 3-month run out of high school.
I was like, you seem super douchey. Hurry, get in the car. Like, abort mission, guys. This is not the one.
Oh, but I show
anyways,
up and we're both flirting
yeah,
with you.
You guys are both flirting with me, which I was like, this is funny. And then I can't remember. It was so funny when we go to leave. You're like, you were the one that asked for my phone number.
Yeah.
And your cousin was so mad because you like beat him to the punch. And then he was like, I called dibs. And you're like, you can't call dibs, dude.
Well, we weren't talking about it in front of you. This was a conversation after we left.
Right. So I'm just saying you were the first one to ask for my phone number. And I was like,
There's a lesson in this
Sure.
and date your wife. There is. which is you all were the ones who pulled the trigger and you got the number. And now you're together and you're married. And here we're 21 almost years later. We've only been married 19
so I'm just
years.
going to share this other part of the story. So
All right.
we started dating and like, you weren't like that crazy guy. In fact, in person, because nobody knows like the real Garrett. They're like, oh my God, is he that intense in person?
I'm so
like,
intense all the time.
You're not. You're
Okay.
super chill. Like you're actually, it's kind of funny at home. You're very, very chill. And we could talk and communicate, but you're super chill and cuddly. And like, I was like, oh, he's cool. Like when I hung out with you guys, the first time I was like, oh, he's like a normal, cool guy. So then we kept going out, and then we kept going out, and then I remember, I'm just going to share this part of the story. One of these a girl comes over to our apartment. She goes, "Oh my God, you're dating Garrett. He's such a nice guy." I'm like, "Yeah, he's great." And they're like, she goes, "Has he told you about his son?" And I was like, I was like, "Oh no, I'm dating Garrett White." She's like, "Yeah, Garrett White. He lives in the building." I'm like, "No, he's like blonde hair, like Garrett, like big guy." I'm like. Yeah. And she's like, ask him about his son. And I was like, okay. And I'm 18, and I'm like, this is a bad idea. So then
you ask me about son. I'm sitting there putting together a chair. I don't know why I'm putting together a chair that night in my apartment.
I don't know why you're putting together a chair. So
I hate putting together chairs.
I immediately like, what are you doing? You want to hang out? Go, because we live in the same apartment complex. I go over, and I'm like sweating. I'm like, I don't even know how to ask him. Like, I'm 18. This guy I really like has a kid. Like, bye. So then all of a sudden I'm like,
bye.
So then all of a sudden I'm like, there's no easy way to bring this up. I'm like, so I ran into this girl. It was the funniest thing. She said you had a kid.
And I said.
And you're like, oh yeah, I do. And then kept putting together the fucking chair. I was like.
I didn't say anything else.
No, that's all
Didn't
you
say
said.
one
And
other
I'm like,
thing. Do you know why? Because I got canceled from some guys who were divorced that had kids, and they were like, do not bring this shit up in the beginning. I was like, it's not good news. I was like, you don't even know if you're gonna. You don't even know if you're with this girl.
If you just told me that on the first date, I'd been like, how fast can I leave this date?
Yeah. Well, I didn't know if we were gonna last. We'd only been together maybe like 3-4 weeks hanging out, and we weren't even exclusive at that time. So it was like
I thought we were exclusive.
Well, I wasn't hanging out or making out with anybody else, but you for sure did go hang out and make out with just about everybody every time we broke up 9 times in the first 2 years.
Hey, at least I knew where the lines were. Like if we were together, we were together. If we were broken up, we weren't. Like Garrett kept breaking up with me, and he kept saying like, you're too young, you should go date other people. And I'm like.
So then she would, and then I would get angry about it.
Yeah, because I was like, I really like this guy, but okay, I've got lots of options. And so I'd
She
go
did
out.
have lots of options.
And then I'd like even kiss the guys. And then he'd be like, why are you going out with other guys and kissing them? I'm like, I'm confused what's going on right now. So
Oh, well, at least you weren't sleeping with them.
yeah, I was 18.
That's because you're 18. You was raised in the Mormon frame.
I was Mormon, yeah.
So that's not what we did. We was like, randomly just have sex all the time. Not necessarily a bad thing. No, I didn't either.
I was like, I didn't.
Yeah, well, here we are. Okay, so listen, all that sex talk has produced children in our life. We have 3 together, maybe 4th in 2020. We got some shit to talk about on parenting
I was
because
like, please don't. Let's not.
we
talk
got
about
some
parenting.
shit to talk about in parenting this week.
Man.
So we have my son who is 22. Interestingly enough, you invite my ex-wife and her husband are moving to Orange County.
I know, like down the street. And people are like, is that
Like
weird?
right
I'm
down
like,
the street. They're living right by
No.
us almost.
No.
Yeah, and then you invited them over for Easter brunch.
I
That's not weird. I think it's
feel
great.
like they're family. I was like,
They
we
are
should probably
family.
invite them over.
Okay, good. So we got Easter happening. We got my ex-wife and her husband, Larry. I'm going to stop calling her my ex-wife. What do I call her? Ex-wife seems kind of rude. Maybe. I don't know. She's like my...
Just call her Christy that you used
Christy.
to be married to.
This is not my ex-wife. This is Christy, who I used to be married to. This is the mother of my
This
son.
is the mother of my baby.
Mother of my baby.
One
All
of my
right.
babies.
The baby mama. This is my baby mama
No, that
Parker.
sounds cheap.
Disrespectful.
Yeah.
So Christy's coming over. Larry's coming over. We have the child together. So we kind of co-raised, which is a frustrating situation for Larry because Larry got to deal with and raise Parker from the time he was like 8, 7 or 8 years old until the time he left high school. So he got kind of the monster years, which I'm sure as a step parent is like very, very difficult because Parker went through his own shit show of a situation for a few years and I didn't get to deal with any of it. Me and Danielle didn't deal with any of it. Right? So we missed the entire middle school, the entire high school experience. So our first genuine middle school experience is occurring
now.
right now.
And it's a girl.
And it's a girl.
And she is the perfect storm of both Garrett and I. Like, I ask my mom all the time because I feel like I was a good kid. And she's like,
Were you a good kid or do you feel like you were a good kid? Because I feel like you have a different story in your brain than what happened.
I asked my mom, like, Mom, I was like your easiest kid. She's like, you were one of my hardest. She has 6 kids. She's like, you and Nate were my hardest. And I was like, really? Like that came off like so shocking to me. I was like,
It sounds about as shocking as
I was
Bailey
like,
is
do
with
you
us.
mean favorite or hardest or both? I'm like, I'm not sure, but she said I was her hardest.
You probably were.
Here's what I know. I know I'm like kind of mischievous and stubborn and like I don't like
Yes.
I don't
Continue.
like I don't like being told what to do,
Yes.
and if you do tell me what to do,
Yes.
I try to manipulate the situation to
Yes.
get what I want.
Yes.
I've really grown out of that.
Oh, you have.
Yes.
Oh, you have.
I'm working on
According to
me. I'm a good adult.
who is all that's happened is I've fallen in love with all those characteristics, and I've learned how to play that game. It's like surfing in the ocean. I can't control these waves, but I can definitely change the board I'm riding.
I think I'm very sweet.
I didn't say you weren't sweet.
Okay, but that's how Bailey is. She's very sweet, but I'm more quiet. So Bailey has a lot of similarities that I have, but she's very much like you in the sense that she's a little more explosive.
A lot more explosive.
She's a lot more short fused.
Yes.
She's very chatty.
She's very chatty.
And so she's literally has like
Very emotional.
just very emotional. So I feel like she's just got both of like I don't know if you want to call them strengths or weaknesses or whatever it is, but she's a rough teenager.
Now
she's actually a hard kid. Like
she's been a hard kid for a long time.
Since she was 3 years old, and like I love her to pieces. And she's my daughter that always is like, love you, mom, and like wants to hug and snuggle. Like even to this day, like she'll be like, I hate you, and then she'll be like, love you, mom. Like, and I love that about her because Ruby, my middle child's a little more like.
Ruby's more independent.
She's just
Ruby
more independent.
Ruby's not touchy feely.
Yeah, so it's
she'll hug me if she wants me to buy her something.
Yes, so it's like they're so different.
So Bailey, we had an episode. So I get a FaceTime situation. We're just gonna say it how is it right now.
Oh.
Because Bailey already did this on a live training with me, and we've talked about it. So here's the deal. My wife went to Mexico. I went to Costa Rica a couple weeks ago, and then my wife decided to go to Mexico for 5 days and leave me with the baby, which was great. Me and baby Isla and Rosie, Auntie Rosie, Tia Rosie, we hung out and we took care of it. So Rosie took care of it during the day. I handled it at night, and the weekend I took the baby the whole time. So I get a FaceTime one night, and there's a war that has ensued in Mexico, right? So there is a hurricane, a war to end all wars, a dominating game where I've never been more unable to do a goddamn thing than sit there and watch what was happening.
I feel like I blow up like, I'm going to say like every quarter, like once a quarter.
I think you probably blow up more than that.
Really?
Yeah.
But not that
more
extreme.
like once every 3-4 weeks.
No.
Yes.
Oh, I don't
Not with
believe
me.
that. No.
But with Bailey.
I don't believe to that extent because I think the last
That was
time
pretty.
that
Well, we would run out of cell phones. That's a lot of cell phones.
Exactly.
It was every 3
The
weeks.
last time we had that happen, she was like in 5th grade, so that was like 2 years ago.
Well, she's in 8th grade, and I love your math. I see where Bailey gets it. So here's the situation. So you are in Mexico with her, and you FaceTime me. I still can't understand why you chose to FaceTime me in the middle of the war.
I wanted you to hear what she was saying to me. I was like, "Are you seriously talking to me like this?"
Okay, so I have a serious question for you as a mother. So I'm hearing the following phrase: "You fucking bitch." I'm hearing this, and it is like listening to two sisters go to war with each other. It was a moment. Now I'm paralyzed, sitting there on my cell phone.
Smashed.
And I'm just listening to this all go down. I'm helpless. I mean, I had one inclination that I should like try to get in there. I'm going to get in the middle of this thing. But what am I going to do? Yell louder on the FaceTime from a different country? Like, so I'm sitting there like, should I shut this off? I feel like I'm listening to something I shouldn't be listening to right now. And I'm sitting and listening and thing keeps escalating. So here's a question for you. As a mother, when you have a daughter, I don't know because I'm a dad with a daughter. So when I get aggressive with her and it gets intense, I'll just pick her up and drag her in a room.
She's bigger than me.
I understand that. So as a mother, being smaller than your daughter, I think Bailey's probably stronger than you.
I'm pretty strong.
You're pretty strong. If you and Bailey had a wrestling match, who would win? If she's at full tilt, you're at full tilt. Who wins?
She would win because she doesn't understand and she'd just get crazy. Whereas I would never get crazy on my daughter.
Would you ever get crazy on her?
No, like I think she has that like.
She has a kill switch.
She's got a kill switch, whereas I'm like I'm strong, but I don't. I'm coherent. I don't know how to. Yeah, I wouldn't.
You're 37?
No, yeah, I think it's just age, but like she definitely has like that kill switch where sometimes like, and I've noticed this from the time she was very little, all of a sudden I'm like, the lights went out, and it's almost like she can't be held accountable for her actions. Like
this is why I want her to fight.
She doesn't know what she's doing, and I'm like, Bailey, come back to me, and it's kind of scary, to be honest with you.
Well, she was good at jujitsu. I mean,
She
when
was
she
really
did
good.
jujitsu in like 9 and 10 years of age, they put her into these tournaments, and she was like
She was an
just
assassin.
murdering
she like
girls.
was like first place. She
And
was-
I was sitting there with her professor, because her professor was like, "Dude, if she keeps going on this, there's no limitations for her in jujitsu. She
Yeah.
could take this incredible." Her favorite,
she
her
was
hero at
super
the time
obsessed
was
with
Ronda Rousey.
Yeah.
And would like watch everything she was doing, and I loved it too because I was saying, I didn't know anything about it. This is how confident she was. Her first tournament, Jeremy came to video it and said, "Hey, so what's it like for you, being here with your dad and having him kind of coach you along?" And she goes, "My dad doesn't know anything about jujitsu. He sucks at jujitsu. My professors who taught me."
My worry about Bailey is she has the kill switch because she doesn't worry about the consequences. Whereas for me, I'm like, I'm gonna break my arm. This is a bad idea. Abort mission. Where she's like, it's like the lights go out. Like I don't know how to describe it.
Well, she told me what happened in jiu-jitsu because I would sit and watch her, and she would go into this quiet place right before the match,
Ooh.
and she just, it's literally like it's like a transformer. She goes from
But
just this light, bouncy, happy to literally murder,
I
death, kill
believe
mode.
that this like part
But it's
of me,
insane to watch. It's great as an athlete
But here's
because
the
she's
thing: is even
like
though it
lethal.
might seem scary, I honestly think this, if she learned to use it and control it, it could be a very powerful gift.
100% dominating,
she's
making
young,
tens of millions of
and she
dollars, and
doesn't know-
running the game.
Yeah, but she's young, and I think she doesn't know how to like harness this energy, I guess you could say.
At all. So let me finish the story about jiu-jitsu. So I asked her, I said, "What do you think about on the match? How do you get so lit up? Because you'll be sitting there all quiet. You come
Yeah.
out, you shake hands, and next thing you know, you go into complete insanity mode, and these girls have no idea how to handle you." She was rolling with the boys that were 13, 14 years old, and she was manhandling those guys too. And I was like, "Well, what do you think?" She said, "I sit there quietly, and then before the match, I imagine that they slapped mom, and then I
Aw.
imagine that they punched my sister, and that they kicked our dog, and then I let the anger build. And then right when the ref says go, I want to kill them." I'm like, "Okay, sounds like you might be a natural at this fucking sport." So she ended up quitting that, and she quit volleyball, and she
that
quit
when
everything.
she started to like boys, and then she
But
was
she's
like,
quit everything. Why is this happening?
I was
She's
the
quitting
same way.
everything.
I was the exact same way. My mom would always be like, I'd be like, "Mom, I want to do gymnastics." I do gymnastics. And I'd be like, "Mom, I want to do dance." And I'd be really good at it. And then it was almost like I would get to this point where I was like, "Oh, I'm good. I conquered it. All right, I'm bored. What's next?" And
So-
I would just kind of move on. And it's like I never pushed myself to the point where I was like like a professional gymnast or anything. But I got to this place where I was like, I'm pretty good. Like
You're
kind of-
pretty
I'm-
good. You do a backflip.
like,
You're good at it.
But I was like, I think I like Bailey in a lot of sense. I was like naturally good at certain things, and so I would get into it and I would get good fast. But then I would get just kind of bored. Like I literally was like, "Meh, like I don't care anymore." And it wasn't until I was an adult that I felt like I like now, going specifically with like sports, like even with like my bikini competition stuff like that. Like now it's like I think I've changed my mindset as an adult. You know what I mean? It's like I'm not bored, and now I want to like compete and like. But who knows? Maybe I'll get bored again.
So here's the deal, though. Like, are you starting to come to terms finally accepting that your daughter is almost a cookie cutter of you?
I think she's a lot like you as well, though.
You grinned right there, though, because you're recognizing there is a
I
higher
feel
percentage
like
of you in her
I've
than there
always
is me.
heard that every parent tells me, they're like, "You think you were hard, you're gonna have somebody like twice as hard of
Well,
you."
she's like you, but with nos, meaning she has
That's
she has
scary.
no filter and tons of fire. Plus, she's you. It's like you and I blended together. Obviously, we
Oh.
did. Sperm and egg made Bailey. But like, I'm serious. Do you have because like I'll sit there and I have moments where like
you
you
know
stole
what?
money from your parents growing up. She steals money from us.
Here's the thing with
Like,
Bailey.
do you feel like any kind of karmic weight for the fact that we're facing a lot of things from her?
Are you really?
I'm not blaming you for anything.
Well, I didn't say it. You did. Here's what
I'm
I
just
know.
asking you.
Here's what I know about Bailey. And
Okay.
I'm obviously a young mom, and she's my oldest. And
Yeah.
here's what I have certain pivotal moments in my life where I feel like it's like another voice like speaks through me, which I kind of think is like my higher self, like calming me down, right?
For sure.
So, and she speaks to me a lot. It's just like a higher version of Danielle, I guess you could say. And I'm like sitting there one day, and I remember I go in your office, and I'm like, she's like probably she's always been kind of tough. And
She's
I'm
been
like,
tough.
I'm like, I give up. Our daughter needs to be medicated. And I'm always like kind of against medication because as an adult, like I feel like I know my path to success, and I've never done any kind of prescription anything. And I know how to manage my anxiety. I know
You've
how
channeled your crazy.
like I know how to what was maybe like a curse. I feel like I've channeled my energy, and I'm very successful now.
Yeah.
So I'm sitting there one day, just just at my wit's end, and I'm like, I don't know what to do with Bailey. Like, I just fucking medicate her. Like, I don't know. And I had talked to several people who are like, yeah, it'll help him. But like, part of me was like, I don't know what to do. And I remember like this voice came to me that it was like, she's not yours to control. So you're here to just be an example and lead and guide her. You have to stop trying to control her. And I was like, shit. And so I was like, okay. So with Bailey, like when she's like, I don't want to do this anymore. I don't want to do this anymore. I'm failing school or this or that. I'm like, okay, we're taking a right. We're taking a left. And I'm trying not to be like, you will study. You will get this. You will go to college. You will do this. I'm kind of like, okay, well, here's where we're at. We're like, how do I keep her from just like, not
survive.
fall? Yes, I'm like, because I think she could be a powerful person.
I know she could be.
And so I'm kind of like at this place where I'm like, if we can just get through until you're like 20, like my goal is just to not have you fall off the cliff at a young age where there's the turning back is hard. Like, I mean, if you're a girl, you get pregnant in high school, like you start doing drugs, like any of that shit, like a kid in high school, like you can't tell me that won't change your trajectory of your life.
It does.
So I'm kind of at this place where I'm like, I can't control her. I can't make her be, the next jiu-jitsu professional. I can't make her be a professional volleyball player. I can't make her go to Broadway even though she's a phenomenal singer. Like, I can't make her do any of these things. I can encourage her, and that's all I can do. And my goal is literally just to not get her to fall off the cliff and make such a detrimental decision at this age. And I get frustrated like every day. Like, I'm always like, okay, like we should just send her to a wilderness camp. And then I'm like, you know what? Have I done the best that I can do as a mom? I don't believe I have. Like, I need to get her enrolled in a different school, in a different crowd, in a different environment. I need to get more involved with what she's doing instead of being like, oh, this will be the quick fix, because that won't be the quick fix.
Well,
I mean, I'm not saying I'm against like that option, but I was like, I don't want to go to that option when I don't feel like I've been a very proactive parent.
Yep. Well, there's been laziness on our side in some
not
ways.
even laziness.
I think it's laziness. We've got it's the decision.
I think we're busy.
It's selective
and it's
laziness.
It's easier with Bailey to be like, take your phone, because then she like self-medicates herself with her phone, and literally like there's time like, and this is what made me. And I know I'm talking a lot on this podcast, but this is what made me blow up in Cancun. Is I was trying to go to bed. It was like 10:30 or 11. I'm like. And part of me, I know Bailey likes to stay up till like midnight, 1, 2.
She stays up till 3 in the morning and then sleeps till 12.
I was like, Bailey, you need to turn your phone off. You need to turn your phone off, or turn the sound off, turn off the light, like be quiet. Like, I finally just got to this place. I'm like, turn off your phone and come to bed. And she said something rude and super disrespectful. And I was like, I lost it. And the whole time, I took her phone and I smashed it. So that's the end of that story. I was like, if you keep talking like that, I will break this fucking phone. And I did. So not my proudest moment, but it happened. So I break her phone.
I've broken a few.
I broke her phone. And then like the whole trip, she is like, she's just a nightmare. She's like, Mom, can I borrow your phone? Mom, can I borrow your phone? And that's when I'm like, this is a problem. I think that I have been allowing to just have her the freedom with no boundaries to have her phone whenever she wanted, and just trust that she would go to bed and like do it. And she's not. And obviously it's a problem, because now she's literally so addicted to like, Mom, can I have your phone? Can I have your phone? Can I have your phone? And I was like, you got to turn it off, Bailey. Like, at some point you got to turn it off. Like, why don't we're here with your cousins. Go have fun.
Yeah.
So I found myself like, the pool days were rough. Like, if we just did a pool day, she was like losing her mind. Like, she couldn't just relax. But then like there was other days where we went quadding and like we did some fun stuff, and she was like, thanks, Mom, that was really fun. And I was like, see, I'm like, I just need to keep her busy and structured, and I need to structure when she can have her cell phone, and I can't give her that much. I realized I gave her too much freedom. I was like, and that's my fault. Like, that's my fault. And so now I'm trying to course correct just to kind of get back on path or get back on track.
Well, my daughter has she's a powerful girl, and she got caught in a whole bunch of lies in the last couple of days.
Ooh, which I'm so irritated.
Like a whole bunch of lies. And what I uncovered inside of her room when we were transporting was 13 vapes.
13 vapes?
Bottles of tequila.
I thought there was only 3.
13
there was
cartridges.
13 vapes.
No, 10 were empty, 3 vapes, full, ready to go. And what's ended up happening is like there's all this chaos that's gone on around it, and there's a group of girls that she hangs out with, and they all come in, and I mean, this happened in our house, right? So I got to be responsible. I'm having a conversation with fathers, and I'm saying, listen, at the end of the day, the buck stops with me. This happened inside my castle, right? We had tequila snuck out of a liquor closet. We had vapes being purchased in a parking lot up above our home from adults selling to minors. under some underground network they've figured out through
What's
social
crazy
media,
is-
and they're paying like $40. They stole cash out of my drawer to pull it off. Like, this whole thing went down in front of me, but I didn't even know it was happening.
I feel like this just happened though, since in the last like month and a half since we moved into our new home. Like,
Yep.
I mean,
Listen, there's no blame on anyone outside of ourselves in this, because like, so I was sitting there and I'm like, okay, but this is what shifted for me, because in the past like 5 days, there's been, normally I'll jump into yelling too. And the last 4 days I've been calm. And I've been solving a lot of shit. She was hanging out with her church counselor today. We got some focus with her. Her and I got on coursework.
And I changed her whole school and like all of that.
But when I watched you two going through your war, it was 40 minutes. I mean, you stepped on a glass and cut your foot and were
that was
crying
rough.
and Bailey's hugging. I'm like, oh my God, this is as dramatic as it could possibly get.
was.
I'm laying there, really in back of my mind. I'm like, I want to watch Vikings right now on Amazon because
You
I
also want to
gone.
make sure that your wife
But I
and
can't
daughter
go.
didn't get
I know,
hurt.
but I didn't, because there was nothing I could do. I'm just sitting and listening to like insanity in the cyclone as you two are both having this war. And then I get this, something shifts in me, and I don't know if it was that plus going to Costa Rica for 5 days, but there was just a calm inside of me. If you notice, I haven't had any yelling.
Part of me thinks I was supposed to take her phone away, because had I have not done that, you wouldn't have gone in her room.
No, for sure.
Because we ended up, she has like the most amazing second master suite in our house. And I was like, she doesn't get that room anymore.
Yeah.
And you're like, you're right. And so we moved like offices and stuff around, and we wouldn't have found that had I
I
have
haven't found
not.
any of it.
We wouldn't have found any. So part of me,
That's
like, I
what
was,
it just
and
continued
I
to
told you,
happen.
I was like, I was feeling like super guilty and super bad that I smashed her phone. But in the end, like, then all this other stuff came to surface, and I was like, okay.
So she got caught in a whole bunch of lies. And as a parent, it's always an interesting thing, because like I told my kids I only have one rule with you at the very, very top, which is don't fucking lie to me. I was like, I have to know that what you're telling me is the truth. But even as of last night, she's still caught in lies.
That's
Her
the thing.
stories are not matching up.
Yes,
The
it
things
keeps-
keep
so
unfolding,
I'm
etc. So like we're sitting in this piece, and I think the piece of really that I want to home down on for some of the men particularly is that if you were a guy, like I have gone down a certain path with her, which has pretty much been for the last 4 or 5 years, I blow up. Right, so I listen, I try, I do it. I'm patient for a period of time, then I blow up. But something snapped inside of me. So when she showed up and I had the vapes on the bed and the alcohol laying out,
Well, what
and
do
I-
you do at that point? You can't blow up. You're like, where are we at?
yeah, well, that was where I sat with her. I said, I'm with you where I was with Mom in 2016, which is I'm not angry. I'm not yelling anymore. I'm not going to force you. I'm not going to fight with you. This is when I asked you, said, May, do you want to go date other men? I was like, I can't keep doing this. We got to change some shit. But I'm not going to argue with you anymore. I'm not going to yell because it's not working. I said, so I'm at that point. I have no desire to fight or yell with you anymore about any of this. I was like, but I'm going to look at the facts and you're going to look at the facts, and there's no other option around it. And so here we are. And so we started down this path. Woke her up at 6:30 in the morning. She's starting down the school path. We've taken away the cell phone. She's taken away all the social privilege to get nobody at the house. And we've just, all I've continued to do is just show up. And when she's freaking out in front of me, I'll like sit there. I'm like, okay, we were freaking out in front of me. Now, I'm not saying I've done this for a long time, but it's been a week of doing this now, like almost a week. And as these conversations are happening, these things are unfolding for me the last like 4 or 5 days particularly, I'm noticing this deep sense of power that comes in as a parent as I just let her observe herself
Her
inside the
behavior,
space.
yeah.
Now, as a trainer and a coach and a consultant inside of Wake Up Warrior, I've been able to do this for years.
Right.
But with my daughter, it's just been very personal, and I haven't had the power to do that until recently. And guess what? What sparked it was having to sit 40 minutes and listen to you two scream at each other. And because I was listening to you two screaming, which I'm not saying I haven't gone through the screaming matches with Bailey too.
You were like, this is probably what I sound like sometimes.
But I was listening. What I was listening to was
I feel
something
like
that was
you're
never
the
going to
one that-
work.
I feel like you're the one that typically has those types of collisions
For
with
sure.
Bailey.
For
Like,
sure.
and I'm always like, you guys, you need to stop. Like, this is a lot.
Yep.
And I feel like I'm always the one that's like, Garrett, stop. Because you're a lot more
Well,
scary
normally you
than I
get
am.
you get a little intense, and then I'll snap and I protect you, because she'll start getting aggressive with you, and then I go into murder, death, kill mode,
and
which
then
she
I'm
got
like,
from me,
you
and then
need
you're
to calm down.
So, needless to say, here we are talking about our imperfections inside the game of progress as parents. But we have a couple things going for us at this point that maybe you could take some lessons from.
I feel like this is my first teenager, and she's like, I'm like, why couldn't Ruby been first? Like,
No, because we wouldn't have been prepared. Now, anything from here is going to be easy.
we're gonna be like, easy.
Oh, we're going to be like, that's
money.
not a big deal. It's like my cousins that had 7 kids, and their kids were playing up on top of this shed one time at the park, at my grandparents' park. And they're up there, and I'm watching my cousins and watching their kids, and they're just sitting talking to me, and I'm nervous for the kids that are up on top of this this building. And I was like, I look at them, and I was like, are you nervous about your kids up on the building? They're like, oh no. No. Eventually, one of them will fall off, break an arm. We'll take them to the emergency room. It is what it is. We've already done this with 4 kids. We know how this goes. I was like, seriously? Like, yeah, there's no reason to stress about it. You're not going to stop it anyways. These kids are going to mess themselves up either way. And I was like, Oh, shit.
Yeah, but you can protect. I still think you can protect.
This was
them.
not a 12-foot roof. This was
Okay.
like a 5-foot roof on this little shed. I mean, was it dangerous? Yeah. Could it fall off and hurt themselves? Sure. Just like it fall off monkey bars. But I was like nervous the whole time.
Can I just raise kids till they're like 8?
That's what they say about puppy dogs.
And then can you
Can I
take
have a
over
puppy and
from
then give it away?
8 to 18?
This appears what's already happening. So, like, that's where I'm
No,
at.
it's not. I realize like I can't like we
You're
both
way,
work.
you're way better with the kids.
No, we both work.
With
and
the
so
babies.
we both. I love babies.
You're good with I think you're great with them to 10, 8. And about 8 or 10, you got to let go. You got to let me take over.
No, but you're too busy, so I can't completely unplug.
You're
like
too
we're
busy.
gonna have to
Wah, wah, wah.
co-parent.
Too
No,
busy.
because this is how it was in the past. Like you would say, "Are you gonna let me take over?" And so I'd be like, "Okay, fine."
And I
Because we'd
would.
always argue about parent. No, you would take over for like a period of time, and then I'd be
Until
like,
you did what?
and then
Until you would disagree with what I was
then
doing.
you would get too busy and you weren't staying consistent.
She would
So then I
disagree
would
with what I was
no,
doing.
you weren't consistent. So
I was
I would
consistent.
step in.
Oh, you were
No, I
consistent at
couldn't-
disagreeing with what I was doing.
No, you were not consistent. So that you'd say, "Do you want me to take over?" I'd say yes. Then you wouldn't implement consequences, and you weren't consistent. So I was like, "Clearly, I can't let you take over, but I don't think I'm supposed to let you take over." So we are both going to have to figure this out. And
I have. I
co-parent.
figured it all out.
You are so full of shit.
If you would just get out of the way and let me take over,
Yeah,
I got it all
we-
figured out.
That's what I thought too, and that didn't work out.
Stop. It is how it's worked. You know for sure.
That's
Hold on. We're
Ruby.
going to bring our daughter on this call.
It might be Bailey.
What's up,
Yeah.
Ruby? You're on the podcast. So whatever you say, thousands of people are going to hear. So what's up?
Oh, Bailey wanted to talk to you.
Oh, what does Bailey want to talk about on our podcast?
She's in Zoom, but she wants to talk to you.
Well, how is she going to talk to us if she's in Zoom school right now? She's in school until 3:20.
She-
Are you there?
Hello.
Hello?
All right. Well,
All right, well, there we go with them. All right, so here's the
So-
deal. We're going to wrap up with a couple ideas. Okay, a couple ideas. One, your kids are who they are. Do you understand what's really going on with your kids, right? We were exposed this week as parents.
and you know what's crazy is I felt like I was super close to Bailey. Like she would tell me about like if she kissed a boy, she would tell me like I had a sip of wine. Like, but then I'm realizing I'm like you just told me like the tip of the iceberg.
She was great. She told us just enough truth
I
to have us
know.
believe we knew all the truth.
I know. I was like, man, Bailey's not too bad of a kid. And then yeah.
Well, I don't think she's a bad kid. She's great at manipulating.
You know why I think I thought I was a good kid is I didn't have sex in high school, and I didn't drink, smoke, do drugs. I didn't party. Like I don't know why my mom thinks I was such a hard kid.
Well, if you listen, you stole a lot of money.
I didn't steal money.
You listened to nothing your parents told you.
I
To the point that your parents
they
would
just-
say you can't have your car.
yeah.
Take
that's
your
true.
keys. You would find the keys, take the car. Your dad took the
That's true,
battery
but I
out
think-
of the car.
I think because I'm like that's not serious stuff. Like
Yeah.
I feel like
Yeah, well, it's still rough.
I know. I'm
We're
sure I was a
facing
hard
right
kid.
now.
I just felt like I wasn't like doing like shenanigans. So
Well,
anyway.
listen, you've
But
got to.
I think it was good that I was. I think it was probably really good that I was raised in organized religion.
So this was what Ani
'Cause
said.
the fear of like the
fear of
guilt,
God,
the
yep.
fear of God,
Yep.
like just kept me on.
Bailey has
somewhat
not.
of,
Bailey has no fear of
yeah,
God.
that's what I'm telling you. Like I'm like I think it was probably a good. Even though I'm not into organized religion now, I still think like I needed the fear of God. I don't know.
I had it too. My mom and dad had one thing on me this earlier. If you have sex with anybody,
You will.
you
go
will
to
get them
hell.
pregnant, and you will fuck up your football career. And all I cared about was football. So I didn't really care about Jesus or God. I cared about football, and that was my storyline.
I
So
just-
we're
yeah.
going to wrap this up because I got a massive trains happening right now. We're doing this podcast in the middle of it, and I got to
Right.
head back in the next couple minutes. So final idea that I'm going to leave with you is this. Sometimes doing the opposite is what's going to work. In my case, it was yelling. I got to listen to my wife yell, and I realized that's not going to work for either of us. And I went to just kind of silent, stoic listen mode. And it's working really, really, really well. Second piece is your kids are always hiding something from you. Go find out what it is, right? How can you get close enough to your kids? Because, again, if you had asked me even a week ago, do you know the truth about what's going on with your daughter? I'd be like, yeah, my daughter's completely honest with us. And we had an entire world underneath the surface that was exposed
I
to us that
also
we
think,
did not know was
too,
going on. And it was happening right before our face.
Follow your gut feelings. Like
You
every
knew
time
you had a gut feeling for a
every
long time before me.
Well, and I'd be like, Bailey, is there something else? And then there were specific friends where I was like, hey, that girl with the freaking crazy makeup, she seems sketchy. Like, what's she like? She's like, oh, she's so sweet. I'm
You've
like,
nailed every single girl.
every girl that
who
ends up
snuck
being
liquor
like
into
the
our house
every
or
girl that's kind of like the
weed
problem
into our
girl.
house, yeah.
I'm like, I knew it. And so anyway.
And then we found out our daughter's a problem girl too.
And then I was like, and then that's what I told you the other day. I'm like, oh shit, I have that daughter that maybe other parents are like, you can't go hang out with Bailey. I'm like, oh no.
No, maybe. The maybe can be eliminated. It's happened. So last second piece too is like, second piece inside of it for you is what exactly is your parenting strategy? Like, I'm not even pretending like we have a parenting strategy. Right now, we're trying to figure out what the fuck our parenting strategy is. And I'm finally feeling out that I might get to be a good cop in this. You know what I mean? Is like that silent, stoic guy who's like the attorney who doesn't yell. He just like states the facts and convicts people.
Am I a bad cop? I don't.
Well, after the beatdown showdown in Mexico, I believe that you might be.
I'll remind you of the iPad you broke like 6 months prior to that.
Yeah, but that was only intimidating for a moment. That was yeah, okay, it was probably equal.
I was like, really?
All right, it was equal.
Okay.
I did smash an iPad over the funniest thing. I smashed that iPad, and Bailey says, "Well, I hope you enjoyed yourself because that was your iPad." And I was like, "God, don't fucking kill this kid." All right, so a couple things too. If you have not checked out Wake Up Warrior and you enjoyed this podcast and you'd like to get some access to some tools that really empower, it's where I'm heading right now to go back into a training with 300 of our students inside of it. Check it out at wakeupwarriorchallenge.com, where we teach you the tips, tricks, and skills into a science, a new operating system for living as a man and or a woman as a couple. On top of this, also, if you're more into fashion, fame, and dealing with hair and clothes, of which I'm not into any of those except for backing the backside of the businesses, you can check Danielle out at...
mbr.education.
Oh my God, not mbr.education. Just follow her on Instagram at DK Danielle K. White.
Going on.
Danielle K. White on Instagram.
You want amazing hair, you want education, you want the best life ever.
That was the lamest outro ever. All right, we're out of here. We'll see you guys next week with a bunch of other random conversation that we will make up on the spot. Have a great week. We're out of here. This is Garrett J. White and Danielle signing off, saying, we'll see you next week. Hey, bye.